Okay, we've reached my all-time favourite King movie, so I will try to contain myself here, but here are 19 reasons to watch. Stand By Me. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Dave Musson, at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is a place where I talk to you about Stephen King. And in this video, we're back talking movies, adaptations of King's work. And, well, this is one I've been waiting to talk about for a while. We're up to 1986 and Rob Reiner's masterpiece Stand By Me, which is his adaptation of the story The Body, which you can find in different seasons. Now we will get on to 19 reasons to watch this wonderful film in a moment. First, a couple of things to plug. So hopefully you know the deal by now, but if not, there's a bunch of links in the description for you to check out of things you can go and do outside of this channel that would be a massive help and massive support to the sort of things I'm doing. So you can check out the Constant Writers podcast, which is me talking to indie horror authors about them, their work, and their relationship with Stephen King. You can listen to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch these interviews right here on my channel. There's a link to the playlist up there and down below as well. Some great interviews there. You can go and find all of season 1. Go and fill your boots. And if you like indie horror authors, then do sign up to my newsletter. You'll get a new indie horror author every week recommended by me for you to go and check out. You'll get a new short story from me every week, and you'll also get my mini collection Mirrored plus 10 Tiny Tales of Terror for free as an ebook just for signing up. And lastly, if you like Stephen King, which I guess you do because you're here on this channel, and if you like trivia, quiz questions, then hey, get the Ultimate Stephen King quiz book, which I published last year, spent a couple of years of my life writing. It covers all of Stephen King's career, 19 questions on every book, on every movie, on loads of other things. More than 3,000 questions in total in this book, and a wonderful piece of art by Loudmouth Threads as the cover as well. It's available on Amazon, it's available on Barnes & Noble, links are in the description, and if you've already bought a copy, thank you. If you'd consider leaving a review and a rating, that would be really awesome too. Okay, so we're going to go into 19 reasons to watch Stand By Me, and as I try to do with these videos about the movies and adaptations, I will cluster any spoilery reasons towards the end of my list, and I will give you a spoiler alert so you can bail if you need to bail at that point. Now, at the time of recording, Stand By Me appears to be on Netflix, at least in the UK, and it's available in all the usual spots to buy and or rent, including right here on YouTube. Or, of course, as I would highly recommend, you can get yourself a physical copy of it and just keep it forever and watch it as often as you like, which will probably be very often because, as we're going to discover, it is a wonderful movie. So let's get into it. Here are 19 reasons to watch Stand By Me.
I was 12 going on 13 the first time I saw a dead human being.
So my headline takeaway is that this is quite possibly a perfect movie, and it's certainly, for me at least, the best King adaptation. And trying to be as objective as possible, it is definitely one of the best King adaptations. It's one of King himself's favourite. Rob Reiner says it's his best piece of work, and there's just so much going for it. It is a wonderful coming-of-age story that is driven by this cast of incredibly talented and incredibly well-cast young actors whose friendship feels very real, very lived in, and just covers all of the things that King is good at. It's got that friendship, it's got that coming-of-age side. It's got some very real horrors in the forms of dead bodies, scary bullies, that kind of stuff. There's some weird, gross-out side tales. We've got humour, we've got heartfelt moments. Like I say, it's just a melting pot of everything that Stephen King is good at, captured in this wonderful gem of a movie that will give you something new every time you watch it.
You guys want to go see a dead body?
This one is also something of a rarity when it comes to a King adaptation because it received an Academy Award nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay. I mean, it didn't win, obviously, but hey, at least it got recognised for a change. So much of this movie just oozes appeal to it. Now, we'll cover the cast in a moment, but just look at the colour palette of this movie. Those rich, deep blue skies, the lush green forest, the blazing sunshine. It's just like this one huge, big, warm hug right on screen. And then, of course, there's the soundtrack. Just cool as fuck 50s rock and roll from start to finish. The needle drop of Lollipop in particular is, I think, one of my all-time favourite moments in cinema history. So let's get on to the cast, and let's start with the core four, copyright Scream 6, 2023, of Wil Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, and Jerry O'Connell. As I said at the start, they are brilliantly cast and they are wonderfully directed as well. Their friendship feels so rich, so full of history, and it brilliantly captures what it's like to be a 12-year-old boy hanging out with your friends. And the performances of these four are just outstanding, especially considering they were literal children when they were going this. We've got Wil Wheaton as Gordy, who is this charming lead who you can't help but root for, you can't help but want to succeed. And then we've got the comedy duo, Jerry O'Connell as Vern and Corey Feldman as Teddy. They're hilarious. They provide great moments of comic relief, but still being full of pathos and heart themselves.
You think Mighty Mouse could beat up Superman? What are you, cracked? Why not?
Across this cast, there's this blend of tragic and hilarious, and it just works really, really well. However, for me, it's the late River Phoenix who manages to steal the show here. His character goes from ball-busting bravado one minute to completely bearing his soul the next, and he's one of my favourite characters in cinema history. And given what happened to River Phoenix, it makes that final shot of Chris in this even more prophetic, heartfelt, haunting, whatever word you want to use.
I'll see you. Not if I see you first.
We shouldn't forget the bullies in this, who are all excellent as well, particularly Kiefer Sutherland as Ace Merrill, who is fucking terrifying.
You're dead.
And lastly, before spoilers, because there's a lot more I want to talk about that potentially does spoil things, I'll knuckle down again on the fact that I think this is a perfect movie. The structure is great, the cast, as we've seen, is amazing, the story is wonderful. Like, it's everything you could want from 90 minutes, 2 hours of just pure escapism. Bring it on.
This is really a good time.
Okay, a bit earlier than usual, this is your spoiler alert. From this point in, I'm going to be talking about some of my favourite scenes, favourite lines, similarities and differences from the stories, Easter eggs, connections, all of those kind of things. And if you haven't seen Stand By Me yet, well, you need to go and change that, but potentially those things might spoil the experience for you. So if you need to bail here, please do, and come back soon. Otherwise, stick around, because I've got lots more reasons for you to watch or rewatch Stand By Me. So we've made the jump of the spoiler alert here quite early because there's a lot more to talk about. Now, in terms of similarities from the novella, they're generally very similar. A couple of things to note. Castle Rock in the movie is in Oregon, mainly because they filmed it in Oregon. But I do have a feeling that if Rob Reiner could, he would go back and change it to Castle Rock, Maine, just because he is a big king head. And in the movie, we only get, in terms of Gordy's stories that he has written that are interspersed in the novella, in the movie we just get Lardass Hogan. We don't get the really bad story Stud City, which is a good thing. Actually, the Lardass story is worth another mention here because, oh my god, so much vomit.
He was covered with 5 pies worth of used blueberries. The women in the audience screamed. Boss man Bob Cormier took one look at Bill Travis and barked on Principal Wiggins.
Appropriate. So when it comes to favourite scenes, there are so many iconic ones, and this is kind of why I made the spoiler jump early, because I didn't want people who hadn't seen the movie to be experiencing these scenes for the first time in this video here. But let's pick out some of my favourite scenes. The one where the boys go through the leech-infested pond, excellent, and something that actually happened to King as a child. Oh, thanks. Some of the conversational scenes in this are what gives this movie so much heart and so much reason to come back and keep revisiting them. We've got where the boys are just chatting shit about cartoon characters and cherry pears.
All right. Mickey's a mouse, Donald's a duck, Pluto's a dog. What's Goofy?
We've also got Chris just breaking down in front of his friends. We've got Gordy seeing the deer cross the railroad tracks. All wonderful little moments that together help build up this just magnificent piece of cinema. And of course, there's the scene with the And even having seen this film dozens of times, it's still thrilling and scary and heart-racing all the time. I'm never quite convinced that Vern is going to make it, even though I know he does. But for all of those scenes, my favourite is actually the one where we see Chris giving Gordy a pep talk.
Wish the hell I was your dad. You wouldn't be going around talking about taking these stupid shop courses if I was.
And being like, no, you're not going to take shop with us. You're going to embrace the fact that you're smart, that you're talented, that you're academic. You're going to do something with your life. It's that glimpse of maturity in amongst all of this other sort of boys out having a laugh stuff that really captures what being 12 is like, because you're on that cusp between child, teenager, young adult. And yeah, it just captures it brilliantly, both from King in his story writing and from Rob Reiner in his direction and filmmaking, and of course from River Phoenix in his terrific performance. So as well as being lots of great scenes, there are lots of famous lines to pick here that could easily be a favourite of mine. I'm going to give a couple of honourable mentions in this particular reason. So we've got the famous one at the very end, and of course there's Vern asking the question.
You guys want to go see a dead body?
But for me, it's Gordy telling Ace what to do. Now,
Suck my fat one, you cheap dime store hood.
it shouldn't work. That should be too silly, too hilarious, and totally tonally wrong for that point of the film. And yet, again, because of everything, the talent in this and behind this, it just comes across as this euphoric, life-defining moment. It's a joy. So a couple of sort of Easter eggs for you. Let's start with the Castle Rock thing. So Rob Reiner would go on to name his production company Castle Rock after making Stand By Me. And Castle Rock Productions would go on to make Misery, Needful Things, Shawshank Redemption, Dolores Claiborne, Green Mile, Hearts in Atlantis. But bringing it back to the movie, there's the point where the boys pool their money. And did you notice how much money they had together?
Well, 237's not bad.
$2.37. 237. Room 237, The Shining, anybody? I mean, of course, in today's money, that would be about $21, so it doesn't really work. But hey, so that brings us on to connections. I've already covered the Rob Reiner connections here, but we have John Cusack in the cast for this, who would go on to star in both 1408 and Cell, unfortunately. And Wil Wheaton is, these days, quite an accomplished audiobook narrator. And while I couldn't find that he'd done any of King's books yet, he has done one of Joe Hill's novellas in the Strange Weather collection. And Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, in case you didn't know. And lastly, I'm going to come back to how good a movie this is. Now, I'm biased because this is my favourite Stephen King movie, and it is in my Letterboxd top 4 movies of all time. But I genuinely think that this movie would put a dent in any cinema lover's top 10. It's that good. And I stand by it. See what I did there?
Why don't you go home and fuck your mother some more?
So there we go, 19 reasons to watch Stand By Me, my favourite Stephen King movie of all time, and one of my favourite movies of all time. Let me know what you think of this one in the comments. Come and say hi on Instagram, where I'm at Dave Musson. I should probably throw in my Letterboxd profile somewhere down here, shouldn't I? Go and follow me on there if you really want to. You can see what I'm up to. And of course, don't forget to check out the Constant Writers podcast, get the quiz book, sign up for the newsletter, all of those kind of things. Your support, as ever, is appreciated. And just thank you for sticking around. Next time out's exciting, because all being well, I'll be reviewing a brand new Stephen King film.